My husband of 2 years, John Wilson, fell down the stairs and lost his memory, with his mind stuck at 18. I had just returned from a business trip and rushed to the hospital, only to overhear the conversation between John and Elizabeth. What? I'm actually married. I'm a lifelong bachelor. Mom, stop lying to me. Besides, I've got amnesia. I don't even know her. How could I possibly go back with her? I stuck my head in. Really lost your memory? Then maybe I came at a bad time. To my surprise, when John saw me, his entire face flushed crimson. He pulled Elizabeth aside and asked shyly, "Mom, who is that?" Elizabeth pointed at me. "That's your wife, Mary." John suddenly blurted out, "Mom, do you believe in love at first sight?" Elizabeth, "Son, you're really out of it." I think so too. Upon hearing that John had tumbled down the stairs, I dashed straight from the airport to the hospital. After hurriedly asking for his room number, I was about to push the door open when I overheard John and Elizabeth talking inside. "Mom, you're saying I'm married? And for 2 whole years?" "Yes." "No way. I don't believe it." "You don't believe it? You're actually 26 now. Stop thinking you're still 18. John seemed unable to accept it. "But I've always been against marriage. I swore I'd be a golden bachelor forever. How could I possibly get married?" "Then tell me, who pursued who, me and her?" "What? Who pursued who? I mean, between me and my wife. Who chased after whom?" Elizabeth replied bluntly, "You definitely pursued Mary. And it was downright persistent stalking." John immediately flared up. "Impossible. That wasn't me. I would never do something like that." Elizabeth gave him a sharp poke on the forehead. John yelped in pain. "Mom, how could you treat a patient like this? How am I treating you? This is nothing compared to what you deserve. Back then, you were the one pestering Mary relentlessly until she got so annoyed she finally agreed to your proposal. Now here you are, trying to weasel out of it just because you took a fall." John blushed fiercely at Elizabeth's words. Who's trying to weasel out? I just feel it's unreal. I'm actually married. Besides, with my amnesia and my memory stuck at 18, what decent 18-year-old boy dates? Let alone gets married? I don't even know her. It'll be awkward for me. Elizabeth rolled her eyes, giving him a look of utter disbelief. Seeing the moment was right, I pushed the door open and said, "Really lost your memory? Then maybe I came at a bad time." But when John saw me, his whole face instantly turned bright red. He quietly pulled Elizabeth closer and whispered, thinking no one else could hear, "Mom, who is she?" Elizabeth pointed at me. "That's your wife, Mary." John's face reddened even more. He leaned in toward Elizabeth and murmured, "Mom, do you believe in love at first sight?" Elizabeth, Son, you're truly losing it." I think he is. The doctor said John's condition wasn't serious. As for the amnesia, it was just temporary memory loss caused by a concussion, and they discharged us to recover at home. I asked the doctor when John's amnesia symptoms might improve, and he said it was uncertain. Maybe 10 days. Maybe 2 months. Or even longer. Helplessly, I had no choice but to reluctantly go to discharge John from the hospital. When I returned to the ward after completing the discharge procedures, only John was alone in the room. He was wearing a beige casual outfit, standing at 188 centimeters tall, holding my handbag, and just standing there dazedly by the hospital bed, looking like an abandoned big dog. There was no sign of Elizabeth left in the ward. "Why are you here alone? Where did Elizabeth go?" John looked at me, his face so red it could bleed. Elizabeth said you were here. Her task was done. She told me to go home with you." I paused, suddenly remembering that the John before me now only had memories from before he turned 18. That meant John was physically 26 but mentally only 18. Seeing his aggrieved and blushing face, I felt a sudden urge to tease him. So, do you want to come back with me? John twisted his hands together and whispered. I have nowhere to go, Elizabeth said. He struggled for a long time but couldn't get a word out, his face growing even redder. I suddenly leaned in close. What did Elizabeth say? Elizabeth said when I got married. I promised I'd never go back to disturb them again. I raised an eyebrow at him. Didn't Elizabeth tell you that on the wedding day? You told all the relatives you only wanted to be with your wife. John's eyes widened in shock, looking utterly startled. Even his neck turned red as he mumbled blankly. Sorry. I burst out laughing, tilting my head toward him. So, do you still want to come back with me now? He pinched his pants leg, seeming as shy as could be, and finally nodded softly. Yes. While he wasn't paying attention, I reached out and pinched his cheek. Yes. So well behaved. John froze on the spot. Then his face flushed bright red again. You. How can you just pinch a guy's face like that? I chuckled lightly. What's wrong with pinching my own husband? John was clearly startled by my boldness and quickly grabbed the luggage, heading for the door. He almost tripped over the threshold as he left. Watching him like this, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Oh my God. I never imagined 18-year-old John would be like this, constantly blushing and, honestly, kind of fun, remembering the John before his amnesia, who was reserved, sarcastic, and manipulative. I instantly thought the current John was so much more adorable. The whole way back, John kept sneaking glances at me, looking like a shy, infatuated teenager. Although I was laughing hysterically inside, I kept my expression perfectly calm on the outside. When we got out of the car, John came over like a little brother to carry my bag. I hesitated, then handed it to him. He instantly beamed like a child had gotten candy. I marveled at how pure, passionate, and easy to understand 18-year-old John's emotions were. Entering the house, John looked around at our marital home, confusion in his eyes. I thought he really had lost his memory. But when his gaze landed on the intimate wedding photo of us in the living room, his face flushed suspiciously red again. I pretended not to notice his blush and casually said, "Sorry. If you find it uncomfortable to look at, I'll have someone take it away later." To my surprise, John looked flustered. No need. I didn't mean it like that. After that, he quickly left the living room, muttering, I want to look around. Is that okay? I almost laughed but held it in. Go ahead. This is your home too. The implication was he didn't need my permission. John fled the living room as if escaping, his steps a bit hurried. When he reached the study door, I asked, "Do you need me to show you around?" He shook his head vigorously, looking like he could handle it himself and didn't want to be treated like a child. Seeing this, I stopped insisting and smiled as I took out the clothes from my business trip, organized them, and tossed them into the washing machine in the laundry room. Perhaps due to memory loss and feeling utterly unfamiliar with the surroundings, John carefully walked around, eventually returning to the laundry room. I heard him say, "Even though this is our marital home." After walking around, I realize I truly can't remember anything. His tone carried a hint of childlike grievance. Unable to help feeling a pang of sympathy, I raised my hand and patted his head like I used to. It's okay. You'll remember slowly. Seemingly startled by my action, he stood there with his mouth agape, frozen in place like an adorable groundhog. I walked past him to take out the clothes and hang them up. Seeing this, he quickly took the clothes from my hands. Let me do it. These things should be my responsibility. I paused for a moment, recalling John before the memory loss, harp-tongued and sly, yet endlessly indulgent toward me. I chuckled softly. Though he had lost his memory, some things seemed unchanged. remembering I had leftover work from the trip. I looked at John hanging the clothes. I still have some work to finish. After you're done, could you make me a bowl of tomato beef noodle soup? John's hand froze midair as he hesitated briefly, then nodded as if making a major decision. In the kitchen. John was on the phone with Elizabeth. Mary asked me to make her tomato beef noodle soup. Mom, I don't remember how to make tomato beef noodle soup. Whatever Elizabeth said on the other end. John's expression instantly turned strange. Finally, he replied, I'll look up a tutorial on Google. After hanging up, he stared at the tomatoes and beef in confusion, eventually pulling up the tutorial and following it step by step. Engrossed in my work, I was snapped back to reality by John's knock. The noodles are ready. Come out and eat first. You can work later. I nodded, rubbing my slightly sore shoulders. At the dining table, I looked at the decent-looking tomato beef noodle soup with a hint of anticipation. I wondered if John's cooking skills had vanished along with his memory, watching him seated across from me, staring at me with tense anticipation. I took a bite of noodles into my mouth. The moment I set down my chopsticks, John visibly clenched his fists on the table. How is it? I don't know if I made it to your taste. I followed the tutorial on Google, seeing him so nervous that sweat beaded on his forehead. I forced myself to swallow the overly salty noodles with difficulty. Not bad. John's furrowed brow visibly relaxed. Really? Let me try. With that, he scooped a mouthful from his own bowl. Then, I watched as his once pleased, handsome face gradually contorted until he couldn't help but rise and spit the noodles into the trash bin. Returning to his seat, John looked at me with a hint of awkwardness and a flushed face. It's clearly not good. Why did you still eat it? Because you made it, I replied casually. But his eyes reddened. I'm sorry. Next time, I'll try harder. After saying this, he avoided my gaze and fled somewhat clumsily back to the bedroom. Wait. Is 18-year-old John really that easily moved? How amusing. Finally, unable to bear the hunger any longer, I ordered takeout. As for John, he had been hiding in the study without coming out. Not even for the takeout I ordered for both of us. I knew that an 18-year-old boy had strong pride, and especially someone like John, a pampered young man, who likely cared even more about saving face. So, I didn't force it. I happily finished my meal alone and went to the bedroom to grab clothes for a shower. After showering, seeing that John still seemed to be in the study, I knocked on the door. Inside, John's deep, sexy voice came. Come in. Pushing the door open, John was sitting by the computer in the study, staring blankly at the screen. Due to the lighting, I didn't see his face, which was flushed red to the point of almost dripping blood. I glanced at the lit computer screen. It's late. Time to rest. To my surprise, John reacted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, springing up instantly. I'll go shower. With that, he dashed off. Wait. Did I say something? It didn't seem sexual. No innuendo. Right. Puzzled, I returned to the bedroom. In the bedroom, I changed into a beige-black spaghetti strap nightgown and sat at the headboard watching a movie. In the bathroom, John was showering. At that moment, listening to the splash sound of water from the bathroom, I couldn't help but feel a bit restless. After all, since my business trip until now, John and I hadn't been intimate for over half a month. I remembered that the night before my trip, John had clung to me until dawn, so much that I almost missed my flight. In a half-awake state, I mumbled that John was inhumane. But he just croaked in a hoarse voice. Honey, it'll be so long without you. I had to get my share in advance for the time you're away. Who would have thought that after the trip? He lost his memory. Now, asking someone with the mental age of 18 for that kind of thing. I couldn't bring myself to say it. Just as I was lost in thought, the bathroom door opened. John emerged in a blue silk pajama set, hair dripping wet. Seeing me on the bed, a flicker of surprise crossed his eyes, followed by visible panic and awkwardness. His originally fair, delicate features quickly flushed pink. Then, I saw him turn his back abruptly. Sorry. Though I had been feeling restless earlier, seeing John like that made me want to tease him. So, I got up and slowly walked toward him, pretending not to notice his already burning neck. Honey. What's wrong? Hearing my voice, John stiffened. He clenched his fist at his side. Mary. The first. I think I'll sleep in the study tonight. With that, he turned, walked around me, and fled. His face red. Left behind. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. Oh my. 18-year-old John was utterly hilarious. I was only teasing him, not actually planning to do anything. So after laughing, I lay back down and fell asleep. Unbeknownst to me, John stayed up all night in the study, because John had lost his memory. Company matters were temporarily handed over to his father-in-law. The next day, John, with dark circles under his eyes, had breakfast and received a call from his childhood friend David. David was John's childhood friend, and as John's wife, I was of course very familiar with him. In the living room, John looked anxious and uneasy after hanging up. Seeing this, I comforted him. You and David are childhood friends, and you've only lost memories from after 18. Everything else is the same. Right. So, don't be so nervous. He nodded at my words. David arrived around noon. When the doorbell rang, I saw John on the sofa jerked to attention, his gaze fixed intently on the entrance. Smiling, I got up to answer the door. Outside, David and his wife Jennifer were waiting with their baby. Shao Kele. Seeing me, David asked. Really lost your memory? I nodded somewhat helplessly. Yeah. David glanced around the room. Do you still remember me? I nodded. Only forgot things after turning 18. David sighed in relief. That's good. That's good. After that, he looked at me with a hint of sympathy. Can you handle John from before 18? I nodded. So far, so good. David didn't say anything more and carried little Kayleigh into the house. In the living room, John stared at the little bun who resembled his childhood friend by 80%. His mouth gaping wide enough to fit an egg. Is this your kid? David wore a look that said, isn't it obvious? But didn't you say you'd rather die than have kids in this lifetime? David's face turned green, and he cautiously glanced at his dear wife nearby, forcing an awkward smile. How could that be? No way. I never said that. You must be misremembering. John frowned. Utterly serious. Impossible. I definitely remember you saying it. Plus, I recall you saying you'd only date a goddess-like figure. Like Ling Yu. By then, David's face had darkened like a pot bottom, and I awkwardly tugged at John's sleeve. Since you and David haven't seen each other in so long, maybe talk about something else. John turned to look at me. But I only remember things from before 18. Me. I forced a laugh to change the subject. Well, David and his wife don't come over often. So why don't you go cut some fruit for them? John actually nodded obediently at my words. Okay. As John got up and headed for the kitchen, I looked at David and Jennifer, both stunned. You know he's lost his memory. So please bear with him. David waved it off nonchalantly. I get it. I get it. We've been friends since we were in diapers. But honestly, I haven't seen this side of John in years. It's kind of nice know at least he's not as sharp-tongued and scheming as before. Jennifer nodded beside him. Definitely. Maybe because of the amnesia. John and David's reunion wasn't as smooth as expected. After dinner, David and his wife left. After seeing them off to their car and returning home, I found John had already tidied up the kitchen spotlessly. When he saw me back, he wiped his hands and looked at me cautiously. Did I do badly? I shook my head. No. You did fine. Just maybe next time David comes, try not to embarrass him in front of Jennifer by bringing up his past blunders. John nodded. Okay. I'll be careful. Then he went to take a shower. Seeing him use the master bathroom, I grabbed my pajamas and headed to the guest bathroom. When I came out, John was already done and standing by the nightstand, holding something in his hand. At the sound of the door opening, he quickly tossed whatever it was into a drawer. You done showering? I raised an eyebrow, watching his face flush bright red, and asked pointedly, what were you looking at just now? Huh? And nothing. Nothing at all. I stepped closer, saying, oh, really nothing. He gently pushed me away as I neared. Seriously, I was just looking for the hairdryer. Me. That excuse was way too flimsy, but I didn't want to call him out. I asked, did you find it? John shook his head, his face crimson. I knew what was in there. It was the contraceptives John had bought a couple months ago. The drawer was stuffed full of various styles and brands. I remember when I saw all those birth control supplies, my legs went weak. And I questioned John why he had bought so many. Who knew that bastard would say he bought them to store for easy access whenever needed? And with his stamina, that little stash wouldn't even last him 2 months. I called him shameless, but he just pulled me close and teased me in all sorts of ways. Now, looking at the flustered man standing in front of me, I deliberately wanted to mess with him. I leaned in close to John and whispered softly in his ear, John, all those were bought by you yourself. And you even said you wanted to try every favorite position. John suddenly looked up, his eyes filled with disbelief as he stumbled back, bumping into the nightstand behind him with a loud bang. I watched the man whose eyes were now glistening with moisture, and my previously calm mind suddenly started to stir. After all, even though John always took the lead, I've been married for 2 years now, and sometimes I have needs too. Okay. Seeing John pinned beneath me, he was staring at me with wide, clear eyes full of confusion and panic. Mary. What are you doing? I curled my lips into a slight smile, one hand reaching for John's blue pajamas while saying, you're my John. What do you think I'm doing? Of course, it's to fulfill our marital duties. John suddenly reached out and grabbed the collar of his pajamas. Mary. The first. I'm not ready yet. I chuckled softly. You don't need to prepare. I trust your skills. Who knew that when John heard me? His face flushed even deeper red. I am really not ready. Seeing this, I pretended to be hurt. Sorry. I overthought it. I thought you still loved me as much as before. I forgot you have amnesia. After saying that, I rolled over to lie beside him, my shoulders trembling uncontrollably. Honestly, at that moment, I was on the verge of laughing hysterically. And the trembling was all from the laughter. Oh my God. 18-year-old John was just too pure. So innocent it made me want to bully him mercilessly. After a while, I heard a rustling sound behind me, and then it went quiet. Suppressing my curiosity, I waited silently. But as I waited, my eyelids grew heavy, and I started drifting off. Just as I was about to fall asleep, I suddenly heard John's soft voice from behind. Are you angry? I don't dislike you. I just don't know what to do. So, I did some research. As he spoke, his voice seemed to drop even lower, tinged with a hint of restrained shame. Then, I felt a pair of large, bony hands gently reach over, resting on my shoulders to turn me around to face him. Next, I saw that John, who had been wearing blue pajamas, was now dressed in a flight attendant uniform with a silver collar around his neck, kneeling on the bed and looking up at me with timid, watery eyes. Holy crap. I couldn't take it anymore. John was such a temptress. Who the hell said he was innocent? This was practically deadly. And as if that weren't enough, John lightly nuzzled my calf with his face and whispered softly, Do you like it? After speaking, the blush spread all the way down his neck. As for me, I was so enchanted by this version of John that I nearly transformed into a wolf right then and there. You see, before John lost his memory, I'd told him at least 5 times that I wanted to see him in a flight attendant uniform with a collar on. But that bastard always agreed sweetly, only to back out once we were in bed, ending up devouring me completely instead, which led to plenty of arguments. Who would have thought that after his amnesia, John would actually make my wish come true? Staring at the man kneeling on the bed, gazing up at me, I stopped caring about mental ages and pulled John in for a kiss. After a fierce battle of passionate kissing, John's and my clothes vanished into thin air. Yet, just as I was overjoyed and waiting to make love with John, the first suddenly felt the man on top of me stiffen. I looked down. Ack. Had John finished? No way. He hadn't even gotten in yet. My brain completely froze on the spot. John has amnesia. And he even forgot about this kind of thing. No way. I was at a loss. However, at this moment, John was like a child who had done something wrong. His face flushed. His eyes filled with embarrassment and confusion, along with a hint of mistiness. He lowered his head, clenched his fist at his side. I'm sorry. I am a first-timer. Seeing me widen my eyes, he hurriedly explained. I mean, this is my first time since the amnesia. So, Seeing John like this, I laughed inwardly but didn't dare show it. The show-off guy who was a sex machine before the amnesia finally met his Waterloo. But, looking at John now, soft and weepy, how I wanted to bully him. God. I feel like I'm a bit perverted sometimes. But, that's John. The aloof and noble young master at the company. The man who dominated in bed. This kind of opportunity is almost once in a lifetime. So, I took the man's hand, gently pushed him down on the bed. Looking down at him. John. I remember you used to be very fierce in bed. Are you too nervous tonight? It's okay. If you're too nervous, we can try again. However, before I could finish, John covered my mouth. No, don't say it. I'm sorry. I'll sleep in the guest room. Saying that, he was about to get up. Seeing that I had teased him enough, I quickly pulled him back as he tried to rise. All right. If you don't want to, that's fine. But don't sleep in the guest room. We're husband and wife. What would it mean to sleep separately? But as soon as I said that, I saw John's shoulders trembling continuously. I was startled and quickly turned his body around. John was crying, his long, curly eyelashes holding a few teardrops about to fall. His handsome, clean face somewhat red. At that moment, he was biting his lower lip hard. And upon hearing my words, he suddenly looked up. But, I am afraid I can't make you happy. Me. Damn. Do I look like such a nympho? Also, is 18-year-old John already so considerate? How thoughtful. I thought sourly. But looking at John now, I felt a bit sorry for him. Fine. My man. I'll comfort him myself. After all, I made him cry. So, I pulled him over, had him lie down, and hugged him. All right. It doesn't have to be tonight. This kind of thing will get better with time. Besides, you already wore the uniform for me. I'm already very happy. He lifted his head, looking at me with watery eyes. Really? Do you like it? I nodded. Of course. I like it very much. John suddenly smiled, laughing like a big boy. He snuggled in my arms, then hugged me tightly. Then let's sleep. Saying that, he closed his eyes and slept. But what's that thing pressing against me? I was speechless. This guy slept peacefully, but I was burning with desire all night. The next day, after breakfast, I planned to handle work in the study, so I assigned John to do the housework. John, hearing my words, widened his eyes like bells. What? Do housework? But I've never done housework. I rolled my eyes. What do you mean you've never done housework? You've always done the cleaning at home. Do you want me to do it? Since I've known you, I've never done housework. It was always you doing it before. John was clearly shocked by my words. His eyes filled with doubt and surprise. Finally, I had no choice but to nod somewhat helplessly. Watching the embarrassed guy, I was overjoyed. Serves you right for bullying me, little guy. In the laundry room, I heard John and Elizabeth on the phone. Mom, Mary asked me to clean. If she asked, just do it. Haven't you always been the one handling the chores at home? What's the big deal? What? Are you sure? How could I possibly do that willingly? Hearing this while playing cards, Elizabeth immediately rolled her eyes. John, you really didn't do these things before. Luckily, we met Mary. If it weren't for Mary, your dad and I would never have known how strong your housekeeping skills are. Oh, enough. It's all your fault for distracting me. Look, I lost this hand. Remember to transfer me some money later. Mom. Beep beep. John stared at the phone his mom had hung up on, sinking into self-doubt. But in the end, he picked up the tools and started cleaning. Honestly, the more he did the housework, the smoother it became. As if he did it often, and had already developed muscle memory. Over the next period, John stayed home to recuperate due to his memory loss. I cared for him at home for 2 weeks before returning to work at the office. John still couldn't recall anything after age 18, but had gone from being shy and afraid to interact with me at first to now holding me every night as we leapt. Since that last time he froze up in front of me, we hadn't had any further intimate moments. Still, John always found ways to make me happy, playing almost every character I loved. I was absolutely thrilled and secretly filmed all of John's different roles. John obediently let me film him. I felt that the 18-year-old version of John was just too soft and easy to tease. As for chores, John went from resisting them at first to now being proactive and self-motivated. Today, I got off work early and planned to ask John out for a movie date. Honestly, I had some selfish motives. Counting it up, John and I had gone almost 3 months without intimacy, even though every night he was very sweet and worked hard to please me. And I was addicted to his role-playing, unable to tear myself away. I still helped him out appropriately, but he always sneaked out in the middle of the night to take cold showers. I felt quite sorry for him after all. Even though his mental age was 18, he was actually a healthy 27-year-old man. After what happened last time, I didn't dare bring anything up with him, afraid he'd be traumatized. But now, it seemed I might have been wrong. I should take the initiative. That's how tonight's date came about. Since John wasn't working, he handled all the arrangements for the date. Just now, as I got off work, I got a call from him. Hey, are you off yet? Yeah, just stepped out of the elevator. As I spoke, I looked up and saw John in a white t-shirt and light blue jeans, holding a huge bouquet of roses, standing in the lobby. Wow! John dressed like that was incredible. It really touched my heart. Ever since I'd known him, had always been in suits, giving off a corporate elite vibe. Never this youthful, sunny look. I finally understood the power of an adorable young man. I raised an eyebrow and walked toward him. He immediately showed a hint of shyness and handed me the roses. For you. I took them and planted a big kiss on his cheek. The guy instantly blushed. You. Let's go. Wah. Ching him grinning from ear to ear. I couldn't help but mutter to myself. The 18-year-old John was truly both awkward and easy to understand. John had booked a restaurant, a famous steakhouse in the city center, with a quiet ambience and steep prices. You had to reserve 2 days in advance every time. John used to be a VIP member of this place. So when we entered, the waiter led us straight to a secluded private room. Inside, the dishes were already served. All my favorites. I was stunned John had amnesia. So how could he remember this? Maybe seeing my confusion, he said cautiously. I asked Elizabeth, and she said you liked these. So I ordered them. Oh, that explained it. Throughout the meal, John kept putting food in my bowl, but he hardly ate anything himself. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and gave him a piece of his favorite sweet and sour fish. As soon as it landed, he immediately frowned and said, "Sorry, I don't eat fish." I glared at him and snorted. "John, enough already, you don't eat fish. You love fish the most. Really?" Who knew that after turning 18, his tastes had changed so much? He distinctly remembered never eating fish before. I had no clue what John was thinking, but when I glanced over, John had already put the sweet and sour fish in his mouth. His expression shifted from initial resistance to his eyes widening bit by bit, until they lit up completely. Seeing that, I looked at the cold cilantro and cucumber salad in front of me and had a bold idea. I picked up some cilantro and said to John across the table, "John, try this, it's also your favorite." John saw the cilantro, and his face wrinkled like a crumpled paper bag. "Mary, the first. I'm sure I don't like cilantro." My chopsticks holding the cilantro didn't lower at his words. I just stared at him, a flicker of sadness in my eyes. "John, but when we first met, you loved cilantro." Seeing my expression, John clearly panicked. "Sorry, Mary, the first. I'll eat it, don't be mad." After a hesitation, he opened his mouth and took the cilantro from my chopsticks. Even with amnesia, John's aversion to cilantro was deeply ingrained. After one bite, he froze solid, his face a masterpiece of expressions. I recalled when I first fed John cilantro after we got together. His look was almost identical. This proved John's lifelong dislike of cilantro. But just as I thought he'd spit it out, he swallowed it without a second thought. Then, blinking those deep, captivating eyes, he boasted, "Mary, the first finished it." Seeing John like that made my heart race out of control. I couldn't handle this John. No one could resist. I swallowed hard, dying to pinch his cheek. As I thought it, my hand reached out uncontrollably. Good boy. John's ears turned red, but he leaned his face toward me, as if making it easy for the pinch. Me. He seemed like a big, affectionate dog, the obedient and playful type. The meal was full of blushing and heart-pounding moments, sparks flying everywhere. After dinner, we went to a movie. John had bought the tickets in advance. Now, watching him by the ticket machine nearby, I couldn't help but see stars in my eyes. Though I always knew John was handsome, John after amnesia seemed even hotter. With an extra dose of youthful energy and the innocent charm of a big boy, it made you want to tease him. Thinking about what I had planned for tonight had me buzzing with excitement. As for the movie itself, long forgotten. So much so that when it ended, I was still daydreaming. "Mary, didn't you like today's film?" John's slightly hurt voice sounded in my ear. No. I loved it." "You're lying, in the theater. You were distracted the whole time." John's voice sounded a bit sad and somewhat aggrieved. My face flushed red. Could it be that I should directly tell him I was actually thinking about those intimate things at night? I suddenly leaned close to him. "No. I really liked the movie. But I like going home to sleep with you even more." John's face instantly turned as red as a boiled shrimp. Then he stammered. Then, We go back. I touched my chin. Not going anywhere else. He didn't dare look into my eyes, his gaze constantly darting elsewhere. No. Not going home. I jumped up and hugged him. Yay. His hand stiffened in mid-air. And after a while, he gently placed it on my waist and hugged me. John and I almost flew home. No. To be precise, I dragged John flying home, thinking about the uniforms I bought. I felt all excited. When we got home, John, with a red face, went into the bathroom. I took my pajamas and went into another bathroom. When I came out, John had already washed up and was lying in bed, the blanket pulled tightly up. Only a fluffy head showing. I turned off the bedroom light and turned on the bedside lamp. John on the bed didn't dare look into my eyes. His gaze lingered on me for a few seconds, then immediately turned away. I was laughing wildly inside, but on the surface, I remained calm. I got into bed and gently lifted a corner of the blanket. Seeing John's outfit, I felt a warmth under my nose. Damn. I awkwardly covered my nose and waved at John. Sorry. I've been a bit overheated lately. I'll go deal with it. Who knew that as soon as I finished speaking? John, who had been blushing and not daring to look at me, suddenly gave me a smile. Mary, go deal with it. I'll wait for you. Feeling the increasingly warm liquid on my nose, I had to quickly rush into the bathroom. No way. When John acts like a seductress, I'm completely out of the picture. That night, I finally learned just how passionate 18-year-old John could be. Turns out, those few seconds that night were really because he was too nervous. The result of a night of indulgence was that I slept until the sun was high in the sky the next day. When I woke up, John was no longer in bed. I have to say, men's stamina is really good, even after fighting all night. He could still get up energetically to work, but, clearly, he was the one putting in the effort. During this time, John's cooking skills had returned to the level before he lost his memory. Even better than before. Sometimes I suspected if he had recovered his memory, but from how he blushed easily and looked at me with those moist eyes, I knew he hadn't recovered his memory yet. I supported my aching, almost broken back and climbed out of bed. And sure enough, I found John cooking in the kitchen. I gently walked over and hugged him from behind. What delicious thing are you making? John stiffened, then put down the spoon in his hand. He turned around, those dark, deep eyes staring straight at me. The shy innocence in them gone. My heart skipped a beat, and I quietly let go of the man. I remembered. I haven't brushed my teeth yet. However, before I could finish, I was lifted into the air. Mary, have you been having a lot of fun during this time? I was certain that John had recovered his memory, remembering all the uniforms I tricked him into wearing during this time. My heart tightened. Damn. The big bad wolf has awakened. My life is in danger. Even though I was terrified inside, I pretended to be calm. John, you've recovered your memory. That's great. I need to quickly tell Mom and Dad to make them happy. But John seemed to have seen through my thoughts long ago, as he casually said, Mary, that's not urgent. Let's settle the accounts first. I forced a dry laugh. Hee hee. What accounts? Between husband and wife. Saying that hurts the feelings. John curled his lips into a smile. No. Trust me. Saying this, he ignored my struggles and slowly carried me towards the bedroom. I screamed. No. Honey. Waking up again. It was already the afternoon of the next day. My body felt like it wasn't my own anymore. Every part ached as if run over by a car. Sore enough to make me want to cry. That damn man John was really ruthless. I hadn't even eaten. Sob. The more I thought about it, the more wronged I felt. Tears welling up in my eyes. Just then, The bedroom door opened, and John, dressed in black casual clothes, walked in holding a tray. "You're awake. Get up and eat something." Angry, I turned my head away, not wanting to look at him. He set the tray down and turned my body back. "All right. Don't be mad. Be good and eat something. I made your favorite mung bean porridge." Seeing I still ignored him, he scooped a spoonful of porridge and held it to my lips. "Try a little, honey. See if my cooking skills have slipped." "Okay." When I refused to eat, he kept the spoon raised, clearly ready to wait me out. Just as I was about to stay stubborn, I heard a few untimely gurgling sounds from my stomach, instantly making me want to disappear from embarrassment. I thought to myself, if that bastard John dared to laugh at me, I'd make him pay. Instead, he said with a serious face, "Even if you're going to be mad, you need to eat something first to have the energy to stay angry with me." "Right." Saying this, he moved the spoon closer to my lips again. I had to admit, after losing his memory, John was adorable and always listened to me. But he was shy and timid. The John with his memory back was domineering and strong-willed, a bit shameless and scheming. Yet, I seemed more used to this version of him. As for those 2 months, I could just treat it as a little experiment to add some novelty to our married life. Thinking this way, I wasn't as angry anymore. Seeing me willing to drink the porridge, John's eyes gradually lit up with a smile, and he said, "Honey, I know I went too far last night, but I really missed you. We haven't been intimate for almost 3 months, and I lost control." "I'm sorry." I instantly flared up. "John, are you speaking human language for fuck's sake? We just did it the night before yesterday." But John looked all wronged and said, "I had amnesia then, so that doesn't count." Me. I held back the urge to punch someone. That damn John. Could he be any more shameless? Thinking about John with amnesia, he wouldn't have dared talk to me like that. Still, angry or not, I drank that bowl of mung bean porridge. After all, I'd been hungry for a full day and night, and I'd burned through so much energy. The news of John's memory returning reached Elizabeth and my father-in-law the very next day. John had wanted to freeload at home for a few more days, but Elizabeth unkindly kicked him out to go back to work. Meanwhile, Elizabeth and her husband jetted off on a world tour. That bastard John, since regaining his memory, had reverted to being aloof and cold in public but scheming and domineering at home. As for any costume shows, those were completely out of the question now. Still, I'd recorded videos during John's amnesia phase, so sometimes I'd sneak a peek at his old uniform show clips. One day, John made my favorite braised pork meatballs, but the moment I took a bite, my stomach churned violently. I rushed to the bathroom and vomited until everything spun, scaring John half to death. "Honey, what's wrong? Let's get you to the hospital." He supported my back, his voice tinged with panic. Without waiting for a reply, he scooped me up and hurried to the underground garage. At the hospital, after the checkup, both John and I were stunned. I was pregnant, already 3 weeks and 6 days along. Counting back, it had to be the night John got his memory back. That night, I was tormented by John so much that I didn't even know how I fell asleep afterwards. So I didn't notice whether we had taken any precautions. Looking at the person beside me who was staring at the test results with a shocked expression, I suddenly got angry and felt a bit wronged. "John, what kind of look is that? Don't you want it? Fine. Well, get a divorce right now, and the child custody will be mine." John then snapped out of it, his expression changing. "Wife, what are you talking about? How could I not want our baby? I was thinking about who our baby will resemble in the future. David's little Cola looks just like him. Do you think our baby might look like me too? Also, should we go buy baby supplies soon? Where exactly should we shop? I need to check which brand of baby products is the best." As he spoke, He had already pulled out his phone and was tapping away. Searching. I know. Right now. This thing in my belly is no different from a celery seed. Is John being too over the top? But John didn't care what I was thinking. That afternoon, as soon as we got home, packages were piled up at the stairway entrance. What shocked me even more was that Elizabeth, who was vacationing in Europe just a few days ago, actually showed up at John and my villa with her darling husband. Under the pretext of coming back to take care of me, I put my hand to my forehead, not knowing what to say for a moment, feeling both annoyed and amused. Turning around, I saw the usually stern person now discussing baby supplies with Elizabeth. And I couldn't help but smile. It's wonderful. The 18-year-old John fell in love with me at first sight. And years later, John still chose me. I think this might be fate. As for those 2 months, let them be an unexpected surprise and a little episode in John and my married life.